Hi, I'm Fatima, the MindShifter. I have a saying that I came up with many years ago, and that is, deal with the issue or the issue will deal with you. How many issues do we have in life? I'm sure plenty. We all do. We all have issues. We all run into problems that we don't like. We all run into things that we don't want to deal with. We want to sweep it under the rug. We want to hand it off to someone else. We want to push it off. We want to ignore it. But does that work? No. You can see a fire in a forest, right? You can choose just a loose fire, by the way, not a campfire, a loose fire. You can choose to dance around the fire and pretend it doesn't exist. But will that make it go away? Nope. You can walk away from the fire and pretend it doesn't exist and just ignore it. Does that make the fire go away? Nope. In fact, the more you ignore that fire, the bigger it's going to get. And it's going to start to catch fire to other things around it, right? It's going to catch fire, and then eventually it's going to start burning other things around it. And eventually it's going to catch fire to a tree. That tree is going to catch fire to another tree. Next thing you know, you got a forest fire. I'm sure you get the picture. Most of our issues in life are just like that. If you don't deal with your issue when you see it, and sometimes we don't see the forest fire until it's too late. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you see the fire and you just stare at it or walk away from it or have a party around it and ignore it. When you see that fire, you need to deal with it. And the best way to do that to avoid a forest fire is obviously to put it out. But in your life, all of the issues you're not dealing with, they're like that forest fire. They get bigger and bigger, and they fester, and they just end up exploding and turning into something huge. What started off as little becomes bigger. All you have to do is ignore it. It doesn't go away when you ignore it. How many relationships have been harmed or ruined because all of a sudden when there's an argument, harmful words come out of someone's mouth with feelings that they've had all along, and they never talked about it. Oh, I know I'm hitting home with a lot of you when I say that. Didn't know it was an issue because you never talked about it, because you just let it go and you pretended and you ignored and you didn't deal with the issue. And for some people, it could be over with a lot quicker if you just deal with it. A little fire that starts in the forest and you're there and you see it, you put it out, it's done, move on, you can go camping. But ignore it and you'll have a forest fire. Ignore your issues and they will turn around and chase after you. And again, I bring up the example of relationships because it's the easiest. This principle is true amongst many different areas of life. But I think it is most easily seen when it comes to relationships. And again, whether it's romantic, whether it's family, whether it's friends, all relationships. It's a principle I'm talking about. You have to deal with your issue. You know, it's like a guy who just keeps ignoring his, heart palpitations or whatever health issue. Then he has a heart attack and it's too late. I know that hit home for someone too, but it's the truth. Everything you're not dealing with will turn around and deal with you. And by the time it does, it's this big scary monster that's hard to put out. I could put out a little fire that just started with a cup of water, but I can't put out a forest fire with a cup of water. It's going to take a lot more. So the more you ignore it, the bigger you allow it to get, the harder it's going to be to put out, the harder it's going to be to deal with. Yes, it is hard to confront, especially if it's someone you care about. It is hard to deal with issues. But it's much harder to deal with the monsters they turn into when you don't deal with them. And I say this out of all sincerity from the bottom of my heart. I hope you take this lesson, old, young, male, female, fat, skinny, whatever, whoever you are. I hope you take this lesson to heart and begin to apply it in every area of your life. in your family, in your marriage, at work, everywhere. Any kind of partnerships, anything. Begin to apply this. And again, when you deal with your issues, it may not be easy, it might not be fun, and it may hurt some people. But a couple of leaves burning on the ground does not hurt as much as a whole forest burning down. Do you hear me? When you're not dealing with it, it will get bigger and it will get worse. It's not going to stop because you ignore it. So once again, I say, deal with the issue or the issue will deal with you. I'm Fatima Bay, the MindShifter.